Now that we're all geared up and ready to take on the world, it's time to head out onto the stage that I like to tackle first, Pridemoor Keep. Right off the bat, Shovel Knight likes to do its best impression of Donkey Kong Country 2, and it hides some substantial treasure to the left. This isn't something that you have to guess about. There's actually an NPC in the village that, if we were lucky enough to randomly encounter them, they would have told us about this very particular secret. However, they wouldn't have told us about the Yacht Club Games logo, which is just a fun little Easter egg. There's also a couple statues here we can knock the heads off, that's always satisfying. Now, these sparkles in the pit actually marks a location where if we use our fishing rod, we'll get some goodies. So let's take a look and see what we get. Hey guys, it's a goldfish. They're actually worth a hefty chunk of change, so I'm going to be trying to fish them up whenever I get the chance. Extra gold is always nice to have. Pridemoor Keep isn't going to be particularly difficult, but I dig the aesthetic, especially these pots of boiling hot liquid up here in the right. The first time I put through the stage, I figured, that feels a little out of place. It's like hot lava, but the more I thought about it, dumping hot liquid on attackers is believed to be a pretty common tactic back in the medieval days to defend a castle that is being stormed, and well, that's kind of what we're doing now, so it's pretty fitting in my book. May seem a little tedious, but I like to try to destroy all the dirt I can in a stage to get as much gold as I can. You never know how much gold is going to be in the dirt, and it adds up over time, so it's pretty nice to do. Now I like this room in particular. You start out down here with enough enemies that really kind of delay you and slow you down, and it gives you enough time to see what that guy up there is doing. He's shooting fireballs. And if you remember Black Knight at all, you know what you can do when someone shoots a projectile at you. Shoot it back at his face, which is always really fun to do. Unfortunately, that one didn't get enough range. There's a bit of an arc to this projectile, but there we go, line it up just nicely. Now this checkpoint was a little bit different than one in the intro stage, doesn't it? I mean, it still activates, run through it, and it still does the same thing, but this one doesn't have wings. You see, the wings on those ones in the intro stage were actually protecting the checkpoint. I mean, without them, I can do this. Now I've destroyed the checkpoint. Now, if I die before I find the next one, I'll be sent back to the start of the whole stage. In exchange, I get some extra gold. To go into how awesome I think this is designed, I actually kind of want to touch on how they used to be designed. There's an article that Yacht Club Games put up about this, so that'll back me up if you don't believe me. But the way they used to work is that you used to have to pay money in order to activate a checkpoint. The way it functions now is kind of the same thing, but reversed. The psychology, at the very least, is very different. If you had to pay to use a checkpoint, that'd feel kind of terrible. You're not sure if you need to use it, so you feel like you're wasting money if you don't get your use out of it. And those who actually need checkpoints the most are ones who are going to be dying a lot, so they might not have enough money to use it. The way it is now, it's kind of like a modular difficulty system. I get to decide, I think I can put a little bit of extra risk on me. I think I can make a bet with the developers that I can go through here without an extra checkpoint, that little extra safety net. And it feels good, it's empowering to have that choice, and every time you choose to make the game a little bit harder, you're rewarded for it with cold, hard cash. Of course, what kind of castle would be complete without a secret passageway? Fit perfectly for me. I changed my mind about Croaker. Chester is definitely the worst. In every stage there's a big blue chest with valuable goodies inside. Unfortunately, Chester will always beat you to the punch. If you find him in the stage, he'll offer to sell you the reward at a reduced price. If I didn't have enough money for this, or I just didn't find the chest at all, I could meet up with Chester back in the village and buy it from him there, but it would cost a little bit extra. The Flare Rod is extremely good. It's one of the few ranged attacks we're going to get in the game, and enemies just generally are not equipped to deal with you being able to hit them across the screen. I'll use a little bit to show it off. I'm not going to rely on it too much. I feel like the game is more satisfying when just using the shovel anyway. Now this screen is kind of weird. It looks like that we have a way to get off the screen here on the right, but we don't. It's just an invisible wall. However, if we come here on the left, we can go out this way. I'm going to try not to destroy too much dirt here. I need enough of a path to be able to get up to that ladder up top. Once I have gotten all the gems, including this one that is floating up here. For the most part, until I've bought pretty much all the items in the game, I'm going to be destroying most of the checkpoints. I don't really need them. I've played this game enough that I don't really need them, and every little bit of gold helps a lot in the endeavor of buying all of the items, and I would like to show off all of the items for you guys. Now this enemy, I love. Man, just look how regal that bird is. It's so awesome. They kind of remind me of these big dog enemies that were in Mega Man 2. Thankfully, these guys are considerably less annoying than them. And there's a fun little secret coming up right up here. We gotta chain all these jumps together. Oh, that is a satisfying leap to make. So back in the first video, I made a pretty big deal about cracks in the wall. It's not always that clear-cut for finding secrets in a stage. Each level actually has their own little distinguisher to tell you what kind of wall constitutes a secret wall. For example, here in King Knight stage, these little square decoration-like things on the side of the wall, that's actually the secret mark. It can kind of blend into the scenery, but once you know what to look for, it stands out a bit. It's not that bad. Part of the fun in Shovel Knight, to me anyway, it's kind of weird, since it doesn't really apply to me anymore now that I've beaten the game this many times, is trying to pick out what little symbol constitutes as the secret giveaway symbol for each stage. Stage, once again, making some good use of foreground objects, for example these curtains. Always hide just a little bit of extra gold. I didn't have much time to talk about these knights earlier because I was busy babbling on about checkpoints, which is important to me, but anyway. These knights are actually pretty awesome. We're going to be encountering them a lot. They're pretty hardy and really fun to fight. It's just satisfying to get the juke on them, parry them at just the right time, and trick them into blocking up and then attacking below, and it's just great. They're going to be a lot more varied later in the game with a bunch of crazy abilities. This checkpoint I'm actually going to not destroy just yet. There's a pretty tricky secret back here that I'd like to grab first. This pit can be pretty dangerous. It's pretty easy for these rats to knock you in, so I'm going to play it safe. Use the flare rod, get the music sheet, and get out. And then I will destroy the checkpoint on our way back out. So one thing to note about this checkpoint in particular is that It's a green. The ones that we were destroying earlier had a little gray flame in it. The color of the flame actually dictates what kind of gems are going to be in it. And it's just that little bit of extra temptation of, ooh, I wasn't thinking of destroying that checkpoint, but oh, it's got red gems in it. Let me reconsider. Now, before I go on with these magic books, there's a little bit of different treasure. Nope, that was not my fishing rod. A little bit of different treasure here than what we've come to expect so far. Sometimes instead of goldfish, it's troutlefish, which, while cute, are useless. You can't guarantee what ichor they'll give you, and they won't give you any if you don't have a chalice, so for me it's mostly a waste of time. I don't have their locations memorized though, so I might accidentally fish up a few on our journey. These books actually remind me a lot of like the invisible block sections from basically any Mega Man game, except, again, considerably less annoying and awful. That's going to be kind of a recurring theme. This game has learned a lot from what was annoying in old games. The timing can feel pretty tight on that last section though, so it can be pretty tough. This is the final checkpoint before the boss. I know I said I'm going to be destroying most of them. I probably don't need this one either, but just to play it safe, I like to leave the ones before the bosses. King Knight is friggin' awesome. I mean, look at this guy. He is by far the weakest member of the Order of No Quarter, but I cannot get enough of this guy's style. I mean, look at this strut. I love it. So for attacks, he's already done most of them, with that strut being the slowest. Instead, he usually spends most of his time jumping around at you like that. A dash across the screen can be a little tricky for new players, but overall it's not too bad. It's these trumpets that shoot confetti, which is his most amazing attack. It's too much in character for me not to love. That being said, it's probably his most dangerous attack since the confetti does deal damage, and it can be hard to keep track of all of them, but generally it's not too bad. King Knight probably is the boss that most people beat first, since he is pretty easy. If you're willing to bust out the flare rod, it's easy to get a few cheap shots in to seal the deal.